This episode is brought to you by SmartVestor. Connect with an investing pro near you at RamseySolutions.com/SmartVestor.
All right, here we go with Gerard in Texas. Hey, Gerard, how are you?
I'm better than I deserve, Dave. How are y'all?
The same, sir. How can we help?
So my wife and I are on baby step 2. We should be done with about $40,000 worth of debt by the end of the year, and we're going to be moving on to 4, 5, and 6. Already kind of have plans for retirement and early payoff of the house, but I'm confused a little bit on the college savings side of things.
Cool. How old are your babies?
4 and 7.
Awesomeness. Okay, what are you confused about?
So I looked at the Dave Ramsey calculator on how to save for college and what we would be putting aside just based on what we think living expenses are and tuition will be. That number seemed high, around like $1,100 a month or something like that. I didn't know if that was normal to set that much aside in a 529 or
No,
if
it's
there's a
not.
happy medium.
I would not do that.
Okay.
No.
Okay. What would y'all recommend as far as how to tackle the tuition versus living costs?
Yeah, I honestly need to go look at that calculator. It sounds like so tuition has averaged 7 to 8% per year inflation rate.
Okay.
For the last 40 years or so, and so it's regular inflation is 2 to 4% average. I mean, one year Biden we had 9.7, but I mean the normal inflation rate is 2 to 7, or 2 to 4, and then with this, so that's what it's going up. So you got University of Texas is probably $14,000 right now in state tuition, and so if you wanted to say, okay, 4 years of that is $60,000, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then add 8% a year for a decade. And that's where that's going to be your tuition cost, right?
Gotcha.
And so that's what you would do. And then we use a 529 because if you put in, a couple grand or something a year, not a month but a year, you're going to have about 90 or 100. You probably have about $140,000 in there, something like that, if you started with the babies. And so you'll have somewhere around 150,000 in there, and a lot of that is growth, and if it's in a 529 in a mutual fund in a 529, it's going to grow tax-free for tuition. And so if you have $100,000 worth of growth, see if you put let's say you put in $2,000 a year for 10 years, that's $20,000 you put in. If there's 120 in there, there's 100 in growth. You got me? No taxes on that 100 is important because that's a $20,000 tax bill, $30,000 tax bill that you're avoiding by putting the mutual fund in a 529 for purposes of the kid. And
that makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, a couple grand a year is going to take you a long, long way towards doing this. And the other thing that we would not have said 10 years ago that we will say today is I think higher education is going to look dramatically different 15 years from now. Wouldn't you, Ken?
I've been pretty bold on that, and I believe you're going to see a decentralization. You're going to see specialties like obviously medicine, law, look very similar to how we see them today. But as far as the traditional 4 years, and you got to take a bunch of undergrad stuff, and you got the prerequisites before you get to the major, I think that's going to splinter. I think the onset of AI, I think that we are actually at a fever pitch on what the American people are willing to put up with. And I think when you see
on the ripoff of
meaning willing to pay for it,
yeah.
Give you real numbers so you know where I'm coming from, Gerard. Gallup came out with information this year in a poll. 46% of American parents said they would prefer that their kids go into trades and not into college. Our good friend Mike Rowe, I call him the Oprah Winfrey of the trades. He's been banging this drum for a long time.
That.
You would take
Mike.
that as an insult. But I do think Dave's right. I don't think you're going to see the exorbitant costs. I don't think. Now, you got to plan for it, but I don't think you're going to see that. I think we've kind of jumped a shark.
Well, the student loan debacle has has highlighted that some of the higher ed stuff is out of control.
Yeah.
And so
it's not sustainable.
I do know that people are going to be more cognizant of what they pay and what they get for what they pay.
That's right.
For sure. And so I think that's going to create a downward pressure on that inflation number that I gave you of 7 to 8%. So I don't think they're gonna maintain that.
I think you're going to see, Dave, little quick prediction. I think I've been studying this. I think you're going to see private sector competition for traditional education. And I think people are going to come along and go, wait a second, we can provide training for what corporate America really wants for a whole lot less money and make a ton of money doing it. And you're going to see these outsized tuitions go away because they can't compete with the private sector. Google's doing their own training program, a 6-month program. I think you're going to see more and more big-time companies are going to outsource their own education training to private education companies. Watch for that. I think that's going to happen.
All of that to say that if you have put a couple grand a year for a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, you're going to have 100,000 plus in there when you get there each. And that's going to give you a real head start into whatever you want to do, whether it's a trade, a certification program, or an actual 4-year degree. Which we're not against 4-year degrees. We're just against getting a degree for 4 years in left-handed puppetry and from a school where you pay $150,000 a year to go, so they can brainwash your child into being a communist. And so that I'm against that. I think that's a problem. And so and as a parent or a grandparent, I'm not writing that freaking check anymore, and I'm not by myself. So that's what we're seeing. Right. So I think you're doing your individual planning, but you're doing it in the context of what is happening culturally right now on this subject. That's why we wanted to comment on it. Yeah. So it's very good. And Ken, I think it's worth highlighting a couple things here while we're at it. You've been working with self-improvement in the self-improvement space, and the new show Front Row Seat is helping people learn leadership skills and highlighting stories of great men and great women and what they did to get there. And, what we discover every time we do that, if you read biographies of great people who are successful in any function, whether business, ministry, sports, whatever, you find that they were the secret sauce, not where they went to school.
That's exactly right.
And so the number of times that people become successful due to the particular school that they went to is precisely zero. And yet we go, well, if he went to Harvard, bullcrap. Nobody cares out here is the problem. It's all theory. There's no data to back it up. 78% of the Fortune 500 companies have a CEO that went to a state school. Yep. And that's 8 out of 10. Shut up.
Had a 2.5.
They didn't go to Wharton. They didn't go to Princeton. Right. They didn't go to, muckety-muck school. They went to a state freaking school. Penn State, Michigan State.
That's right.
University of Tennessee. That's where they went to school. They didn't go to Vanderbilt. They didn't. The 78% of the CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies.
Not straight A students.
There's data
either.
For you.
Yeah.
Okay. So where you go to school doesn't matter. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's right. And
because it costs out the butt to go to those places.
And we're beginning to see the American people, and this isn't just parents anymore, the young people are going, they're reading the stories, they're paying attention, their older brothers and sisters, they're going, there's not a value exchange here.
No, I can't spend $250,000 to become a social worker for the state of Tennessee with a master's degree and make $38,000 a year. That's dumb butt.
That's right. The ROI is not there anymore.
It just doesn't work. So you guys got to think about stuff like that. And Gerard, you're very wise to stay on top of the whole idea and be watching and monitoring all this as you go.